everyone, it's TheTidesChanging here, and welcome to a special Halloween speed build. So in this video I'm going to be making a little Halloween store that sells a bunch of the items that came with the Spooky Stuff pack. And this was just a fun build that I really wanted to do because there's a bunch of really neat items that came with the stuff pack. And also I have been getting requests from some of you to do some kind of special Halloween build. And I just thought a store could be really fun because I could also sell costumes in it. So there are a bunch of costumes throughout the store, and I really enjoyed making this build. It's probably one of my favorite builds, and I did go for a sort of haunted house theme with it. Originally I was going to make a castle themed store because I never really do castle builds. I actually don't think I've done one. And I started on it and got to the point where the walls were up and the roof was on. I think I started on the windows. And I just really didn't like what I had. It ended up way too big. It looks sort of bad because for whatever reason I can't do castles. I've tried to do castle builds numerous times in the past, but I just end up scrapping them. It's just a style I can't really do well for whatever reason, so I scrapped that build. Plus it looked more like a home than a store anyway, and I decided to keep with the castle theme but go more for something that looks like an actual store. So then what I made was something that was basically a rectangle with turrets on either side in the front, but then I didn't like that either because it was just very plain. So I scrapped the whole trying to make it castle themed idea and just went for a haunted house theme, which ended up working out much better and I think looks way better than it would have if I had stuck with the castle theme. To get inspiration for this build, I looked up pictures of haunted houses and pieced together bits of what I saw from the different pictures I found. But at this point, the roofing is almost done and I'm working on tweaking the details of the build. Overall, this place has a very bleak and dark look to it, and that's because that's what came to mind for me when I thought of a haunted house. So there's lots of blacks and grays throughout the place, but I did try to brighten up some by placing pumpkins throughout the build, and also by using objects in the bright purple and green colors that came with the stuff pack. So hopefully that helps to make it so this build isn't super dull and dark looking. But right now I'm just changing the color of the trim and everything to be black and just darkening up the roof a little bit, working on adding more details in, such as the stairs and all of that. But on another note, do any of you have anything exciting planned for Halloween? What I'm going to be doing is going to a Halloween party that one of my friends is having, although I really don't know what I'm going to go as. The theme is abandoned, but I have no idea what kind of costume I could wear to go with that theme. But some other ideas I had was to be Clara Oswald from Doctor Who, but I feel like that wouldn't really look much like a costume because she pretty much just wears everyday clothes, so it wouldn't even look like I was wearing a costume unless someone at the party watched Doctor Who and paid close attention to the style of clothes that she wore. But another idea I had that would look more like a costume is to be an Inkling from Splatoon, because I've been playing that game a bit recently. I just thought that could be something kind of cool to do. And in case you haven't heard of that game ever, it's a multiplayer shooting game by Nintendo, except instead of shooting bullets, they shoot ink, and it's actually pretty cool. I ended up liking it a lot more than I expected to, and it's really fun. I don't know if I'll end up going with either of those ideas though. What I'll probably end up doing is being lazy and going to Walmart or Target and just getting a cheap costume from there. That's usually what I end up doing. Although the Splatoon costume idea wouldn't really be that difficult to do. I have pretty much everything I need for it other than a hat that looks like the character's hair. But anyway, getting back to the build, right now I'm working on the wall coverings for the outside of the building. And I pretty much just used the paneling that came with spooky stuff all over the exterior of it because it just worked perfectly for the abandoned haunted house look I wanted this place to have. Although I really wish they had a horizontal siding that had that sort of look to it. I feel like that would have worked a bit better for this place, but still I think that this siding or this paneling looks pretty good anyway. That's done, so now moving on to the terrain painting. And as you can see, I made it look like there's a stone path going from the stairs out to the street. And apart from that, I just left it as grass on the rest of the lot. Although I used the terrain paint to give it a look like the grass was dying or patchy. And I didn't know what to do behind the building, so I decided to just put what looked like driveways on either side of the lot and then put cars in. I guess you could think of it as either employee cars or customer cars. That was just really all I could think of to do with the back of the lot, 'cause I figured it wasn't necessary to have a ton of decorations back there since people would mainly be looking at the front anyway. Although I did stick a few things in between where the cars are, and I think that's pretty much all that I put behind there. So now I'm moving around front, and I used a lot of the plants that came with Outdoor Retreat, because to me they seemed like what would fit into this kind of build best, as the ferns had sort of a dry look to them, I guess is what I thought. So that's all the plants I put in. Now I'm just putting in a few little decorations, and I wanted to give the store sort of a tacky, cluttered look, so I just stuck a whole bunch of stuff out in front of it. Also some pumpkins, and I do put a ton of pumpkins throughout this place, as you'll see, especially once we get to the interior. I also wanted to put some kind of sign out front, but I couldn't find a sign that I felt really fit in with the build, so I just left it without one. Right now I'm working on putting in doors going out to the decks, and I got stuck on what kind of door to use at first because I was trying out the single tile wide doors where the closed window is, but it didn't look quite right because the door ended up being a lot shorter than the windows. But then I did find a 2 tile wide door that was a bit taller, so that ended up fitting in really nicely. And here I'm working on adding some additional detail to the build. So I thought adding some black columns to the corners where the gray paneling was used would help out a lot. And I do think that made the build look a lot better, made it look a bit more detailed. Then I thought the outside could use something to give it a little bit more color. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to take the hanging lights that came with the stuff pack and then put them just under the roof of the decks where the spandrels are, just to look like they're hanging all along the edges of the decks. So how I did that was I just put some walls in and then stuck the lights at the very top of them and then got rid of the walls. That was a much less tedious way to do it than by using a move objects cheat and then tapping 9 to raise each of them up to where I wanted them to be. I actually thought about doing it that way, but then I realized I could just put walls in, put the lights on the walls, and then get rid of the walls, and that would be so much easier than trying to raise each of those lights up. Here I was just putting a chimney in on the roof somewhere because I thought that would be a nice little accent for this place. And right now moving on to the nighttime lighting. So we're almost done with the outside of the build and we'll be shortly moving on to the interior, which I really like. I'm excited to get to the interior and talk about that a little bit more. But right now I'm just adding in some pumpkin decorations on these decks because I wasn't really sure what else to put there. I also put some chairs back there as well with a little pumpkin next to it. And then on the other side I added in a bench in front of the building as well as some more pumpkins. After I put a few more pumpkins in, that's it for the outside. And these are the pumpkins that you can make with the carving station. I did find them by typing in the hidden objects sheet, which is bb.show hidden objects. But right now I'm moving on to the interior and just trying to figure out the whole floor plan for the downstairs. Although it's pretty much open except for that one room off to the side. And I just put that in because I didn't really want to have the staircase just out in the middle of the room. Upstairs I walled off a 2x3 area that will become the bathroom for the store. And the first thing I wanted to figure out down here was where I was going to put in the register. I thought the front of the store would be the best place for it, and I wanted the register area to look like it was sort of separated from the rest of the room. So what I did was I put a wall down the side towards where the front door is and then just had a door going back into where the register was. So it would look more like somewhere customers aren't supposed to be. And if you do happen to try to run the store, you could even lock that door so that customers won't be going behind where the register is. And then I also stuck some cabinets up top to further make it look like it's separated from the rest of the room. Next I worked on picking out the wallpaper, and I wanted the interior to have a very dark look to it like the exterior, so I went with black walls. At first I put that pattern, I guess it would be considered damask wallpaper all over the place, but there's just something about it that I didn't really like, so I ended up going with the same kind of black paneling that I used outside. Although I do use other wallpapers that came with the stuff pack in other places in the room. I used the spiderweb wallpaper a lot in this build as well. I think that might be the only other wallpaper I used than the paneling. Yeah, I think I tried out some of the other wallpapers, but then for whatever reason, I just didn't end up keeping them. I also changed the floor to be a black color. I just thought that would go a little bit better with the paneling that I have in there. And then in the area behind the register, I thought it would be sort of fun to have the spiderweb wallpaper. The interior is a little bit dark because I didn't put a ton of lights in, but I did that on purpose because I felt like it would go with the whole Halloween creepy haunted house theme better if the inside was dark rather than having it super bright and lit up like a Christmas tree. But some of the items I put in, like the pumpkin rug and the curtains, do help to add a pop of color. Here I'm working on what's going to be the kids' costume area, so the layout's a little bit odd. I have kids' costumes and some other items downstairs, and then upstairs I have the adult costumes as well as some other items. But even though it might look a little bit odd, I put in a bunch of these clothing racks as if they were other costumes, although these look nothing like costumes. But I figured that would look better than just having mannequins. Like, it would give it more of a costume shop kind of a look, so you could use your imagination a little bit and just pretend these are different pieces for costumes. Putting these clothing racks in really helped to give the store a more filled out look because I did want the store to have a cluttered and sort of tacky look to it. I also added in 4 child mannequins in front of and behind the clothing racks, although I do move the ones that are behind somewhere else to where you could actually see them when you look towards the back of the store. I also put in a few pumpkins as a little bit of extra decoration around there. And while the clothing racks don't exactly look like costumes, I think they do help add in a nice bit of color to the store. I wasn't sure what to do with the sides, so I just put in some mirrors. I figured they could be mirrors that, your Sims would look in if they were trying on costumes. Also added in some on this side, and then this is where I ended up putting in the mannequins. I wasn't sure what to put in the back, so I just stuck a couch in for your Sims to sit on. Although they can't actually sit on because I think I set it for sale, and then I put in some tables next to it and then put in some pumpkins on top of those tables. So that's pretty much it for this clothing area here. Oh, here I was trying to figure out something to frame the mirrors with. I thought it might look good to size up some curtains and put them over the mirrors, but they ended up looking a little bit ridiculous sized up, so I just scrapped that idea. I also changed the wallpaper along the corners to be the spiderweb wallpaper because I thought that'd be a nice detail for the room. And I of course put in one of the paintings that came with the stuff pack near the stairs there, and I did actually use that painting quite a bit throughout the build. So now I think I'm moving on to the whole register area. I thought it would look kind of cool to put one of those cauldrons up on top of the counters, and then I was going to put a plant in, but I feel like plants don't really fit in with this build, so I just stuck a pumpkin in instead. After that, I moved on to this area off to the side where there's just a few different kinds of items for sale. So in the center, I put 4 of the carving stations, and then off to the sides, I just have some different items that are placed up on shelves. And I thought it would look kind of cool to have a different kind of wallpaper back behind the shelves. So at first I used a spiderweb one, but then I did change it to this one, although I do go back to the spiderweb one in a little bit just because I thought it looked more fun. But over on this side, I have some cauldrons for sale. And I should mention that before uploading the lot, I did set everything for sale that should be set for sale, because I did find that if you raise up objects using the move objects cheat like I'm doing now, that your Sims won't actually be able to buy them. So when I set objects for sale, I made sure to not set anything for sale that was raised up, so just the items along the bottom are for sale, but your Sims will have at least one item of each type to be able to purchase. Well, except for these Grim Reaper gnomes, which weren't actually from spooky stuff, but I thought they looked pretty cool and really fit in with the whole Halloween theme, so I just added them in anyway. That's just about it that I placed in this area, apart from some pumpkins near the doors. And I did go and change the curtains to be a purple color just because I felt there was a little bit too much orange in here and that it might be good to mix in some other colors. That's pretty much it for this room. The last thing that I did was change the wallpaper that I had behind the shelves and in the corners back to the spiderweb wallpaper. And a helpful tip that I received a while back is that if you're having issues with objects you placed using the move objects cheat deleting when you change the wallpaper, you just have to turn the cheat off and then the items won't delete. I know that seems pretty simple, but I didn't realize that turning the cheat off would make the objects not delete until someone pointed it out to me, so I figured I would just mention that in case any of you didn't know that. Right now I'm working on the second room that's on the main floor, and this is a pumpkin room because for whatever reason I just really wanted to have a room in the store that had nothing but pumpkins for sale in it. I don't know why, it's just something I wanted to do, so I did it. It's probably sort of silly and I probably could have done something more useful with the space, like filled it with more furniture because I didn't have as much room for furniture upstairs as I would have liked, but I just really like the idea of having a room with a ton of pumpkins in it. So along this wall, I just have shelves filled with pumpkins, and I do end up making these all the pumpkins that you can make with the carving station. And if you're wondering how to get to these, then you just have to use the hidden objects sheet, which is bb.showhiddenobjects. And I did check, and these should download with a lot. I saved the lot to my library, and then downloaded it in another save file, and it was all still there. So it should be fine, but I did only set the pumpkins that are along the floor for sale because, as I said before, your Sims won't actually be able to buy the ones that are raised up on the shelves. Apart from those pumpkins, I just added in some of the regular ones that you can get in the decoration category. I also put in a pumpkin rug. I figured that was very fitting for this room. And then I just stuck in some of these pumpkin items on the floor. I didn't bother putting them up on tables or anything like that. And I'm just adding in some paintings to finish off the room. So that's pretty much it. I'm not sure whether or not that one that's sized up will stay sized up when your Sims buy it. Hopefully they can buy it. I don't think there's issues with them being able to buy sized up items. I actually haven't really tested that out. That's it for the first floor, so now we're on to the second one, which has sort of a similar layout. Once again, I walled off a room next to the staircase just because I really didn't like how it looked to have the staircase just in the middle of the room. And like with the main area downstairs, I used the black paneling throughout most of the room and then used the black and white spider wallpaper in some places as sort of an accent wall. Right now I'm putting walls in the areas that I want to turn into the clothing racks, and since there was a little bit more room upstairs, I just made more clothing racks, and I also had more mannequins, so I did put 6 mannequins up here instead of 4 like I did downstairs. I just did the same thing I did downstairs and used the same spider wallpaper there, and also used the clothing racks to look like costumes. And I did change the mannequins into costumes before uploading the lot. And I also made sure that the Sims could actually get to them and change the costumes. Because I found that if you place the mannequins too close to things that your Sims won't actually be able to change the costumes, and Sims won't be able to actually buy clothes off of them. Although I was sort of lazy with picking out the costumes, and I pretty much just went with the style looks. It does make the store look a lot better when the mannequins are actually wearing costumes, so you'll get to see what that looks like in the showcase part. But I think I'm just about done putting in all of the clothing racks. Yeah, I think this was the last row of them that I put in. So now I just have to add in the mannequins, although first I get the curtains in here. So upstairs I went for the bright green curtains instead of the purple ones like I put downstairs. And right now I'm just sticking in all the mannequins. So you just have 4 facing the center aisle going between the clothing racks, and then I put some in the same kind of corner I put the mannequins in downstairs. I also did the same thing as far as putting mirrors along the sides, and then I think I also put in a couch in the back like I did downstairs because I wasn't really sure what else to do. And oh yeah, I remember there was that little spider decoration, so I just stuck that up near the spider webs that I had in. I thought about putting those spider web wall decorations up here, but with the spiderweb wallpaper and everything else that's going on up here, I just thought it might be a little much to have that. I also wanted to see how it would look to use some of the other colors that came with that spiderweb wallpaper, but I do end up going back to the black and white one, just because I thought it was a little bit much to have it in the different color. Here's the couch in the back that I mentioned, and as I was looking around the build after I finished it, I noticed that it seemed like it was a little bit too dark on the inside, so I did add in a few hidden lights. Like I just took those tube lights that are a wall light and just stuck them up towards the ceiling like I've done before. So it's a little teensy bit brighter than it is now, but I didn't make it too much brighter because I still wanted it to have sort of a dark, creepy vibe. But now I'm moving on to this area off to the side, so Over on this side, I just stuck a bunch of candy bowls up on these shelves and just made them all of the different colors that you could. And then over on the other side, I just stuck a bunch of those ghost lights that go on the ground because I wasn't sure what else to put there. I had used pretty much all the other small objects that came with the stuff pack, so I thought why not put those there, they fit. And I also added a bunch of the other lights into this area, like these pumpkin 4 lamps, and then in the center I stuck a few of these tombstone lamps. So we're nearing the completion of this whole room here. I thought about putting a rug under it, but no, I thought that was a little bit too much. And I also wanted to make sure to put in those skeleton bears, so I just stuck them in right here in front of the window, made them each a different color. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to fit in each coloring of each item like I was hoping to, but I still got just about all the items from the stuff pack in here. So this could be a fun place for your Sims to go if they're looking for items to throw a spooky party. Although it's not really the best idea to go shopping for furniture due to the whole markup thing. I think there's a markup if you shop for furniture at a store that you don't own. I'm pretty sure there is. But it's still fun sometimes to just have your Sims go shopping for furniture. I decided to turn this room into sort of a furniture room. So we have some of those living chairs, also more of those paintings of course. And I did change the wall to orange because I wasn't quite feeling the red. I thought orange went a little bit better with the other colors. I'm also adding in some of the tables, so we have the accent table, both kinds of the accent tables as well as the dining table. I was hoping to be able to fit more into this room than I did, but right now I'm just finishing off the room by putting in a few wall decorations. So we have some spiders over on this side as well as another wall painting. And then even more spiders over on the other side. So this room's pretty much done, and there's just one more room to do before this build is finished, and that is the bathroom. I of course went for the same theme with the bathroom, but I did try out a different flooring and wallpaper. Although it's not really a different wallpaper, it's just the same one in different color because I use the black all over the place, so I decided to go for gray. But since this is the last room, I wanted to mention that if you want to download this lot, there will be a link in the description. And if you want to find it in-game, you can search for Hester's Halloween Shop or use the TidesChanging hashtag. That's all I wanted to say, so I'm going to leave off here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video.